Awesome. So I'll start recording. Welcome everybody. Great to have you. This is another session of our STS webinars where we spend time every week going into some of the details and the features within STS itself, some of the application use cases. But also, this is an opportunity for you. So this is an opportunity for you to like ask questions, understand those features, how you can use STS better. So we're going to learn from you. You're going to learn from us. We do really intend to this being really a collaborative session. We try to run these very differently than most of the webinars I've been on. This is not really just for us to talk at you. This is really a time for us to work together and see how we can get the most out of the STS itself to help you in your business or whatever your application is. So, with that being said, what we'll do is I'll share the agenda here in a second, but I'll just tell you, and I'm going to also share a board that we've created for actually a couple boards for this particular webinar that Priya and I have put together. So what we'll do is we'll do an intro, a little bit of background about STS itself, and then we'll get into like your use cases, how you're using it, where you need help, some ideas you might have. We might build something live on the call. Like we really want you to walk away from this or step away or turn off Zoom once you turn off this webinar with something you can continue to use, maybe day in, day out, or whatever the workflow is that we might build for you. We want this to be an applicable tool, a useful tool that you can use whenever you need it. And then we'll come back. We'll end this session with a couple things. Priya set up a really cool way to talk about the features. And then we'll go into like a kind of a bit of a swarm where we'll talk about basically getting some feedback, and we'll gather some feedback, which is another way you can use STS. And so we'll show you how to do that. So what I'll do is I'm going to drop a link to the board itself. Actually, Priya, do you mind doing that into the chat? While I'll introduce myself and I'll kick it over to you. So my name is Ben Clayton. I am in Montreal. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. Moved here from LA. I've been in the kind of the entrepreneur startup game for a couple of decades now. Part of my journey was in consulting for many years and helping businesses large and small use tools for basically becoming more efficient and productive. And I joined the STS team just over a year, or about 2 years ago now, when I met Francis Dion, our CEO, and he's had this vision, or actually already had built the tool. He basically built it knowing that capable AI is coming, but we just need a better interface for it. So he was always looking at ways to help teams and companies and people think better, make better decisions. And so what we'll show you is how you can spread information, take your company information, organize it in such a way so that it's easier for you and, as it turns out, the AI in order to make better decisions for strategic planning. So that's a little bit about me. Priya, do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Priya. I'm the CRO of Strategic Thinking Systems. I have a PhD in industrial organizational psychology, and I've got a background in consulting and coaching. So I've been doing that for a very long time. I also started out working in information sciences and technology. So early 2000s, post 9/11, we were working on a process to look at the collaboration breakdowns between police, fire, and hazmat. And so this story has been in my orbit for a very long time. And so from that place, then there's the balancing of the psychology and the technology. So this fight I've been having for longer than I can remember, because people who build technology don't skip the psychology. And so one of the things we ran into is we built a full scenario for a terrorist scenario and realized that somebody could actually implement this in real life and had to throw it away. So that was one of those things that you start building because it's really, really cool and a great idea, and then in reality can't actually use it. So this is sort of where my background comes from. And with respect to STS, what we're really trying to do here is look at the fuzzy front end of planning. So this is really a challenge that leads to $12 trillion in losses globally. And so we're really looking at that piece of how do you align people? How do you create a knowledge base? How are you able to access that knowledge base? And how are you able to share ideas across people, as well as leverage AI to facilitate that sharing in a collaborative way so that we can solve large, complex problems? And then also ensure that the projects that we're working on are aligned with corporate front end strategy. So a lot of times what happens is projects are initiated and then it turns out even if the project is successful, it's not aligned with corporate strategy. And so therefore it becomes a failure. So those are the types of challenges that we're really looking at resolving in a way that allows humans to contribute, collaborate, and then also really focusing on that idea of human agency and not going agentic and having AI do everything for us and everyone lose their jobs. So it's a little bit of a hypothesis that going forward, one of our biggest jobs as humans will be the strategy and planning component, and then working with AIs and really managing those agentic forms of AI and other humans so that we can ensure that these projects come to life and we solve human problems. So that's what we're doing.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Bria. And thanks for bringing up the agentic piece. I'm curious, just of those that are on the call, how many of you have maybe tried to build like some kind of agentic workflow or some kind of automation using AI? Anybody? I know Sean has, but Vicky, no? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
Sean. How about you, Holland?
Um, Not yet. I've just um, I've thought of kind of several useful applications, but haven't really worked with anybody that's willing to go down that path yet.
Right, right on, and not for yourself. Okay, great. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm curious to always know where people are in their AI journey. So, okay, great. So in the chat, Priya had dropped in the board that we're going to use today, one of them, and then I followed that quickly. Is if you can't access that one, if you click on the link and you get an error of some sort, what that means is that I need to add you to the team that this board is in. So and we'll explain that here in just a second. So Vicky, I imagine I may need to add you. Is that right? Okay. So yeah, just drop me your email address and I'll do that. And but I'll share my screen because this is where we're going to go. So this is the board itself. This is what you'll see. But I do want to make sure you have access to it because this is going to be collaborative.
So
So
I should be seeing this because
yeah.
I do have access now. I created an account.
Okay, great.
Do I just need to give you my email?
Yeah, just DM me in Zoom. I'll drop it in there or to Priya. As I'm sharing my screen, it might be easier. And so yeah, so this is our agenda. We'll give it a little bit of background already. We'll get right into the demo and to start to collaborate here and also on the other board. Q&A is here is number 4, but that's really just anytime you have a question, just unmute yourself, raise your hand, interrupt me or Priya. We don't mind. Just jump in and we'll address your question because when they're hot, they're hot. We gotta hit them if it's about a feature or so on. This is really the point. And then we'll get into a little bit of feedback, and then we'll talk about next week, which is really going to be a good session too. So Priya, do you want to take over from here?
Sure, I can do that. So this is an interesting thing because I was going to really ask everyone to provide some feedback related to STS. So before I even jump into that, Vicky, I'm assuming you're brand new to STS. Have you used it at all?
No.
Okay. And Holland, are you in a similar position? Have
Probably
you?
one step beyond that. I
Okay.
have taken a look at the boards that you shared before, but I haven't sat down to actually build anything out yet.
Okay, so what I'm going to do with this process is just sort of, I want you to give me the first user perspective as we go through this. So I think, Ben, are you sharing the board then, or?
Yeah, well, I was kind of just showing everybody how I was adding somebody to a team, and the team. This is just some feature here. The team here. You can click on it. You can go into the settings when you want to add people or remove people, and then once you have a team like that, this is a way that you can control access to things. So only those people that are in your team will see the folders and the boards that are in that team. So that's why you couldn't see it unless you were added to the team itself. And then once you go into the team, you can see different folders, different boards. We have one for today. This is a folder for today's board. So I will stop sharing from there, and then I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. And Vicky, I'm assuming, are you into the original board at this point in time? Are you able to access that team?
I see it. Yeah.
Okay.
I see this. Yeah.
I'm going to have everyone switch boards shortly. Let me just make sure I have the right one open here. Okay. So I'm going to get everyone to access this board here in the chat. And so typically, so I just want to give you a little bit of context. We have a lot of people who are relatively familiar with STS. So this was built on that premise. And of course, this is probably the one day where we don't have a lot of power users on this call. So it's going to be interesting, but we're going to work with what we have. So the way this tool is structured, you'll see here this space that you can see on my screen or on your screen if you have clicked the link in the chat. So just a quick quick check. Is everyone able to see this board that is titled STS Improvements at the top? Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not seeing it yet.
Okay, Holland, in the chat, there should be a link. If you click on that, you should be able
Yeah,
to.
I get an error when I click on it.
Oh, we might need to add you then to the team, Ben. Is Holland
Okay.
added?
Okay. So I can grab your email address, so don't worry, from the registration.
Okay. And then while Ben does that, I'm going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough of this board that I've created. So this whole space is called a board. And for some of you, I know this is going to be familiar, but I want to make sure Vicky and Holland are on board as well. What I've done here, what I like to do for collaborative activities is set things up in advance so that we're not typing and filling in prompts and all of those pieces during a session. So what I've done here is I'm going to ask you for your thoughts about what this interface looks like to you. What are your feelings about it? Does it feel easy? Does it feel confusing? So I've got some information here about toolbar related challenges. And then I've created a prompt here. Which three improvements could provide the greatest benefit for the most users? So we're going to put some feedback in this first column, and then I'm going to summarize it. Then we'll move to the next column, AI colleague related challenges. Then we'll summarize it. Then we'll go towards navigation challenges, look and feel improvements, and then any other thoughts. So once I get us started, I'm going to have all of you to just type the information. So where you'll see these gray boxes that say type text here, then press enter. That's all you have to do. So avoid any column that starts with summary. You can type in any of these columns at any point in time. So if you're unfamiliar, so when I talk about toolbar related challenges, I'm talking about anything near the top that you find confusing. And then the AI colleague, that's this blue sort of button here. If you see a blue button, it's an AI colleague. And I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of what this looks like. I can also access an AI colleague by clicking on this tab that says Open AI tab. I'm going to click on it. And what we're able to do with an AI colleague is this blue button. I can click on it, and then all the list titles show up here. Every list that I've created shows up here as an option that I can select. I'm selecting nothing right now. And then we have a number of personas that we can select from that will give us different perspectives. So we have finance officer, we have a CEO, we have a question assistant, a chief technology officer. So we have all these different options in terms of how we can get perspectives from AI. Okay, so that's very high level, and I'm not going to go super deep into this because I want to get your clean perspective on how this all works before I explain it to you. So this is going to be a little bit of a fun challenge. And then the next thing I've done here, just so you get a sense of how our AI colleagues work, I've just asked it to describe the ambiguous front end of strategy planning work, which is what STS does. So I'll just hit enter. And so if you see question here in the gray box, you'll know you're dealing with an AI assistant. If you see type text here, there's no AI assistant available, okay? So here what we're talking about, the key features of the ambiguous front end. So it's really about uncertainty and vagueness, divergent thinking, sense making, iterative and nonlinear responses, um, emotional and political complexity. So this is where, we have anxiety, we have conflict, people don't agree on things. Knowing the context. So when organizations pursue new products and markets, what's that context that we're working in? So these are all of the things that really fit into the fuzzy front end of planning. And these are all the challenges that STS addresses. So with that being said, if everyone has access, I'm going to hide this. If you want to take a look at this, you can open and close this tab. If you want to test out the AI, you can run it over here. But what I'm going to ask you to do is start with the toolbar related challenges. You can click on things and whatnot. We might accidentally delete something in here, so I'm just going to quickly save of this board just in case. And Ben, if you want to upload a duplicate, we can do that. So just type whatever when you look at this interface, what are your thoughts? What are some challenges? Just get into this first column and just start typing.
Our host of information for Vicky, her first time seeing it.
Yeah. Which is going to be good feedback as well from you too, Vicky, because I know you want to use this collaboratively. So this give us your first intuitive, instinctual responses, because if you're using this with the large group, you'll have to do some explanation. But I'm just giving you a little extra here as well. So, yep, what's frame? Great. And Holland, are you in the board? Are you able to access it?
Good question.
Yes, I just typed something in.
Okay, great. So someone's asking, how would we start a collaborative conversation? We're doing it right now. So okay. So then if you've got more ideas, you can add more ideas related to toolbar related challenges. And then if you want to jump to the AI colleague, feel free to type in that section. If you want to talk about navigation, feel free to jump there. If you want to do look and feel improvements, you can jump there. And if you have other thoughts, you can jump there. So we're not going to limit sort of for this purposes. Ideas show up when they show up. You might be inspired to fill in another list. Fill in that list. I'm not going to control this process. And this, we're not going to get the best data here, obviously, because we have like 6 people. So
Still, there'll be enough, I think.
I'll have some. Yeah.
Yeah, this is good.
Okay. So I'm going to pause on this first one. So let's see, we're not going to get a robust answer because the list is relatively short. But if you had 50, 60 people in a room, this is going to allow you to filter through this information in seconds. So I'm going to run this AI concise assistant. I'm going to make sure I have this toolbar related challenges list selected. And the concise assistant, I'm choosing that because it gives me a short response that's relatively easy to process in a meeting like this.
So we've used this for similar things in meetings when we have a lot of ideas and we need to like directions to go. We could prioritize things, summarize, analyze. They're all good options here.
So is the idea then you would get everybody who's participating to write in that first chat, and then it pulls in the best. Okay. Maybe where there's overlap. Okay.
And yeah, so now what's going to happen is because we have so little information, it's decided to do some hallucinating. And so there's not a lot to summarize, so it doesn't really understand the instructions. So
Mhm.
so that's an AI challenge. That's not really an STS thing. It's trying to be helpful. So we're not going to be able
Mhm.
to address that. But part of the scenario here is if we decided it did hallucinate, I could easily delete a number of these
Mm.
things and have things, precisely defined the way that I'd like them to be defined. So that allows me to have some control in those ways. And there's a clipboard to this top section here as well, so I can delete one card or multiple cards from that clipboard. So that allows you to have some control as well. So essentially, we've got so some people are adding new things. Keep adding. I'm not going to stop you here. Um, and I want to try to run this one more time.
Actually, I like the answers, even because what it say, like it said, add two tips for quick help. That's not a hallucination at all. It's actually inferring like what we're doing with that little bit of information. It's saying, okay, we're asking, how can they, what's confusing about the tooltip and or the toolbar, and then it says actually add a tooltip for quick help, which is something we have talked about as a team. So, good answer.
Yeah, that's the other element too. It's not necessarily summarizing um, our response, but it is providing good input either way. And it doesn't even know what the tool is. So it's just, what generally works across the board. So, and then it does have sort of why out of frame. So it's adding what we've included as well. And of course, I ran this earlier today and tested it out, summarized everything, 3 perfect cards, neat and clean. And then you do a live demo and it does this. So I don't know. So I always test it out regardless. So, okay. So do you have thoughts about AI colleague related challenges? Again, new group. Let's get some ideas in there if anything's coming up.
And the
And
AI colleague is,
So these blue buttons here are the
uh-huh,
AI colleagues. So that's a
okay.
good challenge. I can't even find it. I can't identify it. But if you see AI with the blue button, you
Hmm.
can click on that, and then
Okay,
you're able
got
to
it.
list titles. And then we also have a drop down of different personas.
Okay.
So
And is
it's-
each box where it says AI concise assistant, is that taking on a persona?
exactly.
Okay.
So there's 2 parts to it. We have boxes at the top, which allow
Hmm.
you to select the content that it's reading.
Mm.
So it'll select this content. So you'll see summary toolbar as Ben's pointing out there, and then I see summary toolbar there. So it's
Mm.
reading that content, and then this AI is now providing a perspective on that content.
Got it. You chose the persona concise assistant based on the information it's reading. Okay.
Yeah. So I could do a fun one here. So what I'll do just as an experiment and make sure I'm in the right list. So I'm going to go back to this one. I chose the concise assistant, which decided not to be concise. Um, and then I'm going to do this with, because we're talking about toolbar related challenges in an IT tool, I'm going to go to our technology officer and see what that does. Unless, Ben, do you want to keep these?
Well, I'll grab them. So you want to show them how to do that, like how to copy them or even move them?
Sure. So one of the ways that you copy these is you'll see this list. So when I click on a list, let me give you a little context here for everybody else. So the whole thing is called a board, and there's actually a gray area, which is hard to spot, but there's this gray area is called a frame, and this white area is called a list. So you're seeing the blue line move. Now,
Mhm.
each of these smaller elements are called cards. So we have a board. Within the board is a frame. Nested within the frame is the list. And then nested within the list are cards. And
Okay.
these cards, you can drag and drop them.
Mm.
So you have that ability as well. So if you're working in a collaborative group, you can say, drag and drop your best ideas to the next list over, and then you can summarize those and work with those as well.
Priya, is there a way for the ideas to be color coded and
No,
not all blue?
not yet, but let's put
Not
that
yet.
in.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. So look and feel improvements. I'm going to add this right here, color coded.
That's a theme for the week. We would talk about color this week.
All week.
Actually, Vicky,
color.
I'm curious, the color coding that you're looking for, is that at the user level or just at being able to manually change the color?
Either. So either it would
Yeah.
be at the user level and every user would have a color, or the AI would color
Mhm.
code based on questions and
Yeah.
suggestions.
Great.
Maybe we could choose.
So this is you guys are making this in some ways very easy, but this is the type of dialogue you're able to have, and you're able to do the capture, other people are able to type, and you can imagine how large group discussions can work if everyone's able to participate in the same space at the same time, and the way you'll be able to work with ideas.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry. Is there a voice to text option? Not yet.
We had one and then we removed it, but one of the ways that we do voice to text is you can use Otter or Fathom or one of those tools, and then you can just
Mhm.
copy and paste that content into a list, and then
Mhm.
you can work with that content.
Got
But
it. It will pull the pieces, the important pieces out. Good to know.
yeah, so one of the things I love doing with this tool is you can actually create survey questions. So I pre-populate the tool with survey questions, and then if I was going to do an interview, I have my interview questions in the tool. I go through them. I just stay focused in that conversation. I'm engaged with the individual that I'm talking to, and then I can come back and I can copy and paste that transcript into a list, and then I can say, answer these questions with transcript, and it's done. And then I can go back and just do a quick review because I just finished my conversation and I'm able to put those pieces together.
I have a quick question. Vicky, do you mind elaborating a little bit as to why, if it is important to you, why is voice to text important to you?
Sure. Okay. So using ChatGPT's voice to text, what I've been experimenting with is being able to lead group facilitations with the voice to text turned on. So everybody kind of idea dumps at the same time, and then having the GPT that be able to discern some of the important points. Sometimes it's just easier because people, as you're doing idea generation, people are just talking and things are coming to the surface, and they're not always going to be typing the most important and the most breakthrough ideas. They might be coming a little bit more sporadically. So I have found the voice to text to be really helpful in group facilitations.
Great. And I'm gonna take the Otter transcription of that, and I'm gonna drop it right into that card that I created under the list other.
Okay. And I'm going to select these cards here. So you'll notice what I'm doing is I clicked on this list, and then I clicked on add list, and I added one to the right. Now you have an untitled list. But I want to save all these answers that we got from the AI. So I'm just going to call these AI toolbar answers. And then I'm going to click on this list, and I clicked on select all cards. So that's going to select all the cards in this list that you can tell they're selected based on the blue check marks. And then I'm going to click on the list where I want to put them. And then I can click on selected cards and I can cut and paste. And now they just moved over. So I can drag and drop, or let's just say I wanted to select 3. I could manually select 3 and then cut and paste and move them over. So I can select all of them. I can select a subset, or I can drag and drop one card at a time.
Do you mind if I speak to that just a little bit as to why this is important? Obviously, if you're generating answers and you just want to just basically took the good answers and move them into the next step or part of your workflow. But this addresses one of the key frustrations that we have just as users of, say, ChatGPT and so on. When you're having a long conversation and you get this long linear result chat, that may be great, but then it's really hard to move forward from that. So there's a few things that's happening with this. you're grabbing the good parts of the answer and you're moving it to a place where you can actually take action on it. And the second thing is, so you're focusing not only yourself, but also the AI too. So if you have that long conversation, after a while it kind of gets confused and it repeats itself, or it's like, what are you talking about? And this way it keeps focusing the AI onto what it is that you're choosing, and that's important. And it saves resources and also time, because you're not having to, deal with confusion or hallucination.
I just want to double what Ben said because so ChatGPT out of the box, I think that the memory option is turned on if I'm correct. And so this can introduce things that you really wouldn't want to show up in in the large language model's thinking process. And it's kind of opaque when you're doing it. So that's where STS has a major advantage here that I see, is because even if you turn off memory in ChatGPT, then you're kind of you've got one hand tied behind your back, because you actually do want things from other conversations to show up just selectively. So yeah, that's just a consideration. And yeah, I recommend that anyone who has ChatGPT, if you haven't looked at the settings section in the last like 3 months very closely, you should be. Um, it's really important.
Good tip.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, so I will come back to where we were. So we've moved some cards around. We're collaboratively adding information, and then now I'm going to get feedback on these points on the toolbar related challenges, but I'm going to change the persona. So just as a reminder, I changed the persona by clicking in this section and selecting the technology officer. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit enter. And we may get a different perspective, we may not. We'll be able to compare side by side with the two lists.
What was the one before? I thought that was the technology officer.
Yeah.
It
I
was
think
concise. I
it's the
used the
same one.
concise one.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. So this is giving sort of, now it's prioritized the biggest toolbar improvement. So onboarding tooltips. When users hover over list frames and cards, highlight the corresponding UI element. So task context pop-ups, add short explanatory text about each feature's purpose and usage, guided workflows. So it's giving us definitions and process a frame as a workspace container. So it's actually giving us a little bit more feedback in terms of what this could look like. So
Cool.
my intention, if we had a bigger group, was to get some summaries in all of these colleagues. So we do have some AI content. So I'm going to run this prompt here. I'm going to hit enter. Yeah. I was just making sure that this list was selected when I popped that open. Boxes, clear explanations of the AI personas, etc. We do have some navigation challenges, so I'll run that again. Move that to the AI assistant, and then I'm going to make sure that's selected, hit save, hit enter. And we have some look and feel improvements, and I'm just going to, just for the purposes of this little demo, I'm going to run that. Got it. And I'm going to grab the prompt from here, just copy and paste, and hit enter.
But actually, since we didn't maybe have enough time for everybody to fill out each one of those lists, if there's some things that pop into your mind, you can still add, say, for look and feel, or any ones that you didn't get to.
So I've gathered all this. Yeah. So you can keep adding to these lists. There's no, just because I've run the AI, don't worry about it. So if anything comes up for you.
Oh, that's cool. So Ben, you put the voice to text in that one there, and then it's generating. Okay. Oh,
Right.
that's cool.
So yeah, so we're able to capture that information and now it's summarized it. Now, let's say we wanted to work with this information. I've set up a prompt to list suggestions based on these summaries that we got from the AI colleagues that have captured everyone's ideas. And I can be based on this prompt, it should list the exact outputs from all the AI colleagues. So summary toolbar, and so it's talking about the hovering over the lists and cards and frames. So it should be precisely similar to the other. Let me do a double check. So summary, real-time voice text. Yeah, so see that last column, add real-time voice to text, is summary other, and you can compare down here, summary other, real-time voice to text. So now I've just moved the content from the previous list over, and I did that by selecting all the lists where everything was summarized.
Mm.
And then I asked the prompt for the list suggestions, list all the suggestions exactly as written in each list with the exact list titles. So it broke it down, summary toolbar, that's the list title. Summary AI colleague, that's the list title. So now I know where the information came from, and it's reorganized here. So then we can go, if we wanted to, gather some solutions. We've now identified areas that could be corrected, and then we could have everyone summarize solutions.
Should we pause and talk about maybe other use cases, or just get some thoughts going from everyone in terms of how maybe you wouldn't be doing this for your own UI UX experience on your platform, but since Vicky mentioned you're interested in collaboration, like what other setting would something like this be useful for in your work and what you do?
Well, the idea that Dehan and I have is to run some type of collaborative visioning exercise we're both part of the Social Innovation Association, so everyone's a member. We pay membership dues. It's a co-working space, but it can be so much more than that. So we wanted to kind of look at it from both angles, from the individual, like what's in it for me, how can I make better use of my membership, and how can I make sure that I'm actually meeting the other members who I'm in alignment with. We can maybe work together. They're all nonprofits, so they're all like really scarce on resources. So how can we get together? So we want to provide that context, and then also from sort of the top down, how can the association itself showcase more value to becoming a member other than just being a co-working space and hosting events. So we wanted the idea we would want to have that brainstorming. So maybe doing like the voice to text recording, taking that really long those recordings and then inputting it in some way that then we could then so I would probably want to ask AI like what would be the correct what would be the different lists that would be helpful to help us be able to tackle that sort of complex idea.
So Ben, do you want to pop that in that everything that Vicky just said into the AI? And then I'm going to use what we have, a question assistant.
Mm.
So this is going to generate questions. And then those questions can become the titles of each of the lists.
Yeah.
You can use that information to gather feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it does because we have multiple questions that we would like to ask the group. So it'd be really neat if there was a list that we could have pieces of it, maybe go to the appropriate list based on what people share.
So Ben, I think you're gonna
Yeah, which
grab
list do you want me to drop it into?
just drop it in here in the AI colleague.
Which one? The in the tab?
Yeah, in the tab.
Okay, cool. Got it. Okay, so I'll just run that as a prompt, like the exact quote. And actually, what I'll do, Priya, I'm gonna drop it in your Zoom chat so you can do it, and I'll see what you're doing. Oops, it's
It's fun to see what we get given a long chunk of text. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
filter it. I'm just going to copy and paste what Ben has shared. Okay.
So we could probably want to ask. Oh, there's going to be a part three. Hang on.
Oh, there's 3 parts. Okay.
Yeah, it was too long for the there.
Okay. So hold on. I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to pop it in here. And
Kudos for doing a live demo like this, by the way. Dynamically generating the output that is bold and very helpful.
Right on.
okay.
Well, it kind of like in some ways this is the way we discovered the power of this thing on our own as a team. So we were compelled to begin with, but then as we started to use it in meetings like this, it started to reveal to us what could be done.
Right.
And because like for me myself personally, like I worked as a consultant for so long, this is the way I always use with other tools, but usually is Word, capturing my notes and in my brain to like try to summarize and ask questions and so on. And so now I use this to capture everything. We do it for demos, we do it for potential clients. We put STS context in there, the person I want to talk to. We put that in there, and then we have at it. The potential client, ourselves, our team, all working on it live to come up with a way that we can work together. It's really fun.
So you can see your Vicky as Ben was
Yeah.
describing it ran. So it just took the information that you shared and now you have like it's saying these are suggested list titles. So how does each member hope to get what does each member hope to get out of the Social Innovation Association? How can members maximize your membership? What connections do membership members want to make? What
Wow.
obstacles do they face?
So
So
good.
you can just essentially take all of these, turn them into lists. You can have a collaborative group session with all the members and have them fill all that information in. And then you could summarize it, and now you have a whole plan in minutes.
We
And
could
the
have that whole board ready to go with all of those lists, and then we could do this, the voice to text, and then copy paste it into each list and have it create these tabs.
exactly. And the other thing that you would be able to do, and you could template this, but you have the option, we have these assets, so I can export this to an asset. And so I've clicked that. And now if I scroll to the bottom of my screen, I have a link. I don't know if you can see this. I might have to stop my share for a second. I'm gonna pop it open. Should pop up there. I'm being impatient. Let's share the document. There we go. So it'll create a document. So if you wanted to, get all the feedback in a board, then you could get a document with all the outputs and share that with your membership or whoever needs to see it. And this is obviously our branded, but we can do your branding if and that's relatively easy to do as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll jump back to the board that I was on.
Just going to methodology as well. There's a fantastic book called Collaborative Intelligence: Thinking with People Who Think Differently. And going to the human-centric side of using this tool, there's three types of kind of thought. There's auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. So, if you're someone who's going back to, how you use the tool, if you're using Otter, because you're talking a lot and bringing it in there, you could define before hopping into STS, like what are the strengths of everyone, what are everyone's languages of thought. And then when you're using the tool, you're going to find more like ways that click a lot better with how your team specifically can use STS. So that's one kind of opportunity. Just wearing my collaborative intelligence hat, thinking about that.
Nice.
Yeah, so exactly, Sean, perfect example is there's so many different ways is just add your input, then ask the AI to support you in thinking that through. And I'll give you another example of how you can do that with STS. So I've summarized all of our feedback from this conversation today, and I pre-populated with some criteria. So we want to implement this feedback in a way that's intuitive, easy to implement, it's quick, impact the greatest number of users, most relevant to the ambiguous front end of strategy and planning, which is what we do. So now I can give our AI a prompt and say, prioritize. I had a prompt in there. I don't know where it went. I'm going to do this because it knows where a list summary, which is the title of the list, according to criteria, and develop an action plan. So now I've asked it to do that. I'm going to make sure I've selected the A list summary, and then I've got criteria selected. So it knows where to look. I've given it the prompt, and then if I hit enter, it should prioritize all of the suggestions that we've come up with according to the criteria and create an action plan.
Love it.
A question about the prioritization, yeah, or I guess in general, as you're getting all the input from different users, is there any capture of multiple mentions of the same thing so that like there's potentially weight given to a particular suggestion because 10 people said it versus one person saying it?
You can put that in the prompt. So if you put that in the prompt and say, identify how many times this idea was mentioned or weight these ideas based on number of times it was mentioned, it'll do that.
Oh, great.
I think it's pretty
Yeah.
good at doing it too, just on its own. I've seen that before when you have like several, like you just said. It'll even comment on it. It's like there's several requests that say X.
And in some ways, I've done that with this example here because I've told it to prioritize this information according to being intuitive, easy to implement. So it's recognized the criteria that it needs to use. And then now here it's going onboarding and context help features, work with through these features, and it's explaining why prioritize them.
This is so good.
And then we just have to do the work. That part we haven't fixed yet. So, so with that, I think I've sort of done a lot of demonstrating here, and you can see the capabilities of the tool. And thank you, Sean, for your input. So I want to sort of open it up. Do you have generalized questions? Where do you want to go with this now? And Ben has some input he'd like to gather too, if we have time.
Yeah, if we have time.
I have just a high level question of using what you build to build off of other things. So, for example, like, the way that we were having this discussion today very much reminded me of many post-mortem meetings that I'd had, and I was trying to remember the tool that I last used, but I couldn't. But where, you know, everybody's in the system, they're all getting color-coded cards, and we had a moderator leading the discussion. Okay, now everybody answer this question about what worked and what didn't on the project. Like we used it, I historically have used it for like integrations as we're integrating acquired companies. So we have a project template that we follow, and when it's all over, we have the discussion about what worked and what didn't so that we can go back and modify the integration plan for the next company that comes along. And so my question is, like, how is that a workflow, or how would I implement that type of workflow through the system from I have my original project plan that I executed on. I want to have the postmortem now take the ideas from that postmortem and then insert them back into the plan. So that's where these are the things we've got to execute on. Where do they need to be inserted so we could do it differently next time?
So I will describe this and we can work on it more if necessary. But high level, what I envision you would do is you'd go through your post-mortem process, gather that feedback in the tool using tools like Otter if you want to sort of have people talk about it or they can type about it. And then once you get a summary of the core ideas that came up in that post-mortem, you could put them back into that project plan that you'd already worked on, have it read all the lists in the project plan and say, how could we improve on this project plan based on this feedback?
Mhm.
And then it'll tell you what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. I'm glad that translated. I wasn't sure. Yeah, so it's about that easy. And then the other piece that we are able to do, so let's imagine this space was your other project plan. And let's imagine you had a board where you did a post-mortem. You could go here and you could pull directly from that board that you did the post-mortem on. So I can add content from another folder, another board, and
Mhm.
pull it into this board and have that conversation.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Could be like several surveys, feedback you've gotten from customers and so on. But I'll take the opportunity too to say that that feature that Priya just showed, you could bring your business context or other client context into a board like this to help make decisions. So kind of like the criteria that Priya has there. Imagine you have your vision, values, mission, budget, timeline, staff, everything in other boards that you could basically point to and say, help us create our priority based on this, our schedule out to the next quarter based on the context that we're pointing to. And it doesn't have to be in this board, it can be anywhere within STS.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's
And
great.
that other piece too. So if you have a strategic plan that you're working with and you're working on a project, you can pull the content from the strategic plan into the project and say, is this project aligned with the strategic plan? What are we missing? Or if you have compliance documents, they can be stored in STS and you can say, are there compliance issues that we're missing? Or what are risks that we're missing? So you can ask all those questions as you're building out your projects up front as well. Other thoughts or questions, or is are the wheels turning?
Maybe we filled the wheels.
There's a lot. There's a lot, yeah.
um, okay, well, how about we do this? So we just have about 3 or 4 minutes left. So there is the other piece we're going to do, which we actually covered it very, very nicely. But in the original board, there was a section there, and kind of to your point, Holland. So we just another way of setting up a board to do that, like the post-mortem or just gathering feedback. There's another layout that we have in that first board that we showed of gathering that information. And by the way, we use our STS and our boards in order to do our stand up on Monday, and then at the end of the week when we have our collaborative team call, we use another board to cover everything that's happened in the last 5 days. So then you basically have a template, right? It's the same workflow. It's the same thing you do every Monday, same thing we do every Friday. You just follow along and then add the information you need. And then you have that kind of record, just like you would do in, say, Trello or Asana, Monday, Rike, whatever your project management tool is.
So this is the equivalent in a way. It could be your it is designed to be your project management tool.
Well, it's really more of the step before the project managing tool. You can see we can have those cards as tasks, and that's the way we use it too. It's really the step before. So what we discovered is there's a massive gap when you have ideas, you're trying to create the strategy, trying to create the plan before it goes to the PMO office or your project managers to actually execute. We want to help the team get aligned, create a project plan that's based on all the criteria that you need to have it so it's solid. Everybody knows what the plan is, and then you can deploy it to the project management tool if you have one, your favorite one. Yes.
Got
And
it.
next week, we are literally doing a webinar on how to do that.
Cool.
Nice
I'm going to
setup.
point out the difference between this tool and something like Asana is Asana for me is very bloated. There's so many things to do in Asana that when I've tried using it in real time, we just kind of get locked in admin
hmm
on,
Trying to figure it out.
yeah. So I will include that as both a benefit but a warning that if you get feature bloat, you will become the Asana eventually.
Of project planning. Good. Thanks, Sean.
I will, Sean, you brought up a little point that I will just do a quick share on, which did not come up thus far. We can do web search and links as well. So if you just ask the tool to search the web,
Mm,
it'll hyperlink you to websites. And so I know this content here came from this particular website, and I can just click and open it up. And Sean, you're from Vancouver, so you'll understand where this is coming from.
Yep.
I did a quick search on how can we use tech
Sure.
to address the homelessness problem in Vancouver.
hmm.
Yeah, and Sean, I can share that with you if you're interested.
I would.
Um, yeah, so we have that capacity as well to link documents and search the web, which can really help address huge problems a lot faster. So, okay, that was it.
Nice last minute feature there. All right. So guys, we do this every Thursday at the same time, 12 o'clock Pacific,
Mhm.
3 o'clock on Eastern. So next week, as Priya mentioned, we're going to get into actually going from the project charter into scoping, I believe is going to be the area we're going to talk about. So moving from the charter to scoping and then into the project management tool itself, right?
There'll be a full work breakdown structure, planning, and then apparently we're going to move it into Microsoft projects, so you'll be able to see how to do that
Great.
process.
Oh, that's awesome. And that'll be
And
led by Charlie. Hmm?
yeah, I want to see what Charlie does.
50 years plus of project management experience. This guy is unbelievable. So it'll be a good session.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I'll drop my email in the chat if you have any questions to follow up. If you don't have it already, just feel free to follow up with me or Priya if you have hers as well. Just we want to make sure that you're using the tool efficiently and effectively. Just hit us up if you have any questions. There's also the help within the tool itself. There's the help. One of those AI colleagues is the help assistant. So just choose that. And if you have a question about how to use the tool, you could actually choose that colleague. Thank you, Priya, for showing
Right
the
there.
STS help assistant at the very top. Um, so, so it's basically like your help chatbot. All
Thank
right.
you guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.